Hi, channel members. So I think it's about that time after you watch this reading. If you feel that this reading is super beneficial and valuable, then and you want to share it with others, you can leave a comment to vote for public. And if you want to keep it for channel members, you can comment down in the comments private. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's begin. Okay, so the first card that we have, this, I already have a favorite card out of this deck, so I can't say that this is my favorite card, but if I didn't have a favorite card, it would be this one. The In-Between. And this energy is really feeling kind of like emergence out of the chaos. And not the chaos in our lives, though certainly it could be the chaos in our lives, but I mean the sphere of chaos. And, from the sphere of chaos is really where creation occurs. And it's like the first steps of creation. And behind the chaos is the abyss, it's the void. And when we have this energy, it really brings us into themes of death and resurrection, of birth and decay, of generation and destruction, and all those dualities that constantly keep things cycling back and regrowing and being destroyed again and evolving. These are very complicated energies, and this is one of the reasons why we view it as chaos. I think that from this state, there's something really beautiful emerging for somebody. And someone may even still be in the grips, and I feel still for many of you, in the grips of some sort of grieving process. And that grieving process, we tend to get really frustrated with ourselves through that process. And we think, I'm not done yet, I'm not done yet. And the message of this card for me, whenever I pull it and it's hitting me this type of way, because this is a very dark mysteries sort of way. Anytime we engage with that energy, the energy of grief has at its core an insanely creative power. And many people see this, when they are grieving something, they create their best poetry, or they create their best art, they create their best music. And something here is trying to emerge from this field of grief that's trying to be created. And we can see that here with the roses. For some of you, this is an offering that you have to give others. For some of you, it's an offering you have to give yourself. Okay. Okay. Full family, call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. I do want to say, if someone is really in the throes of grief, there are grief shares and groups that help support people who are going through grief. So definitely find support. If you had been part of the addictions discussion, or you watched the replay of the addictions discussion, our speaker Ryan and I constantly have conversations about how important support is. There's definitely this message coming through here about finding that support, and it doesn't have to be like-minded people. We don't have to make people fit inside our nice, neat little packages. It's just understanding that as humans, being able to connect over shared experience, being able to cry together, being able to laugh together, this is one of the most healing energies, and even for people who really like being alone. Okay. Now, one of the things about that is it's almost as though this energy of grief, one of the things it's trying to create for somebody is connection. This isn't the type of connection that's born out of limerence or desperation. If you're unfamiliar with what the term limerence means, definitely YouTube that. There's a lot of great videos out there. This is more the type of connection that's born out of sharing space with like-minded people in some instances, but more so than that, emotional space with people who are going through the same emotions. And I think that this grief is really trying to bring things into someone's life, not take them away. That's like the illusion of death, right? Is we think that it's always taking something from us, when in reality, it's trying to plant the seeds for something new. And it's such a sensitive topic when loved ones pass away that we often don't talk about that because it seems insensitive, but there's truth in that. And many people can attest to that. If you're somebody who has lost someone many years ago and you're able to look back and say, yes, these new beautiful things kind of came into my life, leave comments about that. Help other people who may be going through grief at this time. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Deep replenishment. I think this is one of the energies that this situation or this experience is trying to give somebody. This isn't, and I want to say too that this isn't only like grief because of loss. It can be grief because maybe you've always had like a deep-seated grief that you've never been able to explain. These things are trying to be explored now. Inside this collective that I've been reading for some time, because some of you, I feel like the last 2 or 3 months have really resonated hard. It shifted into a slightly different collective around that time. And I think that a lot of you are really grappling with some sort of deep-seated grief or deep-seated anger or rage, which, has its root a lot of times in grief that's been unprocessed and unseen. And all these energies are really starting to come to light for this collective. And one of the reasons is because once we get behind all those energies, it's almost as though this purge, this deep replenishment can finally come about. I almost feel it like this outpouring of this cool, refreshing water from the soul. It's like when, you have this, it's almost like a beaver dam, right? A stanky old beaver dam, and you remove all those sticks and then the water starts flowing again. That's kind of what it's feeling like to me. It's like you may even be noticing that there's an uptick in your dream life as the subconscious or the unconscious is trying to bring these energies up. You may notice that you're experiencing more synchronicities and psychic abilities at this time. I feel for some of you, it's really that entrenchment in the pattern, right? Understanding that you're playing a role. You're playing a role of the divine, and you're part of the synchronicities in another person's life. Well, maybe they're part of yours. And it's that interplay of co-creation and that beautiful dance that our consciousness does when it's alive. And many people are living, but they're not really alive. And I think that whoever this message is for, as we embrace the grief, I don't want to say heal through it. I don't want to say process it. It feels like embracing the grief in order to allow that mystery to show us what it has to show us about ourselves, about our place in humanity, about our creative nature, about interconnection. I think that there's definitely this feeling of coming to life. It's a catch-22, how death is what actually makes us very much alive. Here we have Break the Chain, and then Anna, grandmother of Jesus. So with Break the Chain, I think that there is a heavy element of ancestral patterns, healing, and rewriting the future. Emphasis on rewriting the future. Anytime we step into a higher vibration, and I'm going to ground that terminology down a little bit. Anytime we step into a space where we've basically released our limitations and our negative perspectives on our experience as human beings, not to say that every experience deserves that. Some experiences, they are what they are, and there's no, positivitying the experience. But this grief it's part of the human story. It's the kind of energy that our ancestors experienced and our ancestors before them all experienced. And in its own way, it is its own mystery and its own initiation process. And that's what we see whenever we see the cave imagery. It's like this initiation into the deeper mysteries. Here, this person's walking out of the cave now. They've learned what they've had to learn. In the process, there's been some pattern recognition and pattern healing and some recoding and rewiring and releasing of things, and now they're coming out as a new person. And so this tells me that whoever this message is for, as you embrace this energy, as you learn through those mysteries, you're coming out the other side a completely different person, and you may feel that that's already the case. Notice how here, we have the black-veiled individuals, we have the black-veiled individuals here, we have the black-veiled individuals here. And this is kind of like whatever this grief is, whatever the loss is, it may be in some instances that that's never an energy that actually leaves us. It may be something that's part of us going forward. One of the things about the grief energy is that it doesn't always, like I said, it doesn't always have to be negative. And when we carry it with us, it doesn't have to be this low vibration that we carry with us. It can be love, right? This is one of the mysteries of death. It's one of the mysteries of resurrection, how death itself and the loss of something can actually resurrect us. And we're seeing that here, right? Anna, grandmother of Jesus, seeding the light, laying foundations in divine plan. Whatever this energy is, it was meant to be here in this time to allow something to emerge in this space for you. All things in their time. And there's a divine timing that seems to be at work always. And this particular divine timing is interesting because these two towers here are making me think of the moon card from the tarot. And so if you've been with me for any length of time, you've already heard me talk about this. When we look at the moon card of the tarot, there's two towers. In alchemical art, historically, two towers represent two Athenors, and it means a double process is happening. One is heating, one is cooling. In other words, one is being refined, and the other one is kind of being allowed to be its volatile self. And so you may have these situations going on where sometimes you feel okay and sometimes you feel absolutely not. Trust that process, because that process is part of the mystery. It's part of the understanding and the refining to come to some sort of center where the grief is embraced. Not everyone is going to carry this grief with them. Some of you will actually embrace it, learn through it, move through it, and before you know it, you're not going to carry it anymore. Others of you, and you know who you are, it's going to be with you because it's going to be that impactful of a loss, and that's okay. That's okay. Doesn't mean that you're going to be a crying mess for the rest of your life or anything like that. It just means that you're going to understand that, you have lost something. That's part of life. It's part of life. Here, one of the things too is, if you notice this, it's almost as though this double process is really replenishing, and that's really sitting underneath these two cards that have water featured quite heavily. So I think it's through support and finding the like-minded people that this becomes very, very bearable. And I don't know. I think this is a very beautiful energy. You even see the Sphinx in the background, and whenever I see the Sphinx, this really speaks to me about like ancient ancestral knowledge. It speaks to me about riddles. It speaks to me about those deeper mysteries that we don't always understand. It's like that labyrinthian walk that we take in order to understand things that are a little unknowable, right? There's something that happened in Cancer season, and I'm saying that because the water looks like a crabby claw. There's something in Cancer season that started pulling us forward, and I'm almost seeing that here too because there's skirts off the frame. It's like there's something that is pulling us forward, and I don't know if this is something astrologically, if this is something that's going on personally inside of our lives, but there's like this pulling forward that's happening because it's off of the page. It's almost like something that isn't seen, meaning something behind the scenes. For some of you, this might be spiritual work that you're doing, some sort of spirit work. It might be something in the future that still seems a little hazy, or you're not clear on where it's taking you or what exactly you're doing with it. But whatever it is, it's like that's part of the process of coming back to life and embracing this grief energy for someone. Again, I know I've said a lot about carrying that grief with us. Just know that I think that a lot of you are actually going to move through that grief, and it's something that is going to be transformed. Again, those of you who are going to carry it with you, you understand who you are and you understand why. And it doesn't always stay heavy. And so allowing yourself to work through the creativity and the lessons of that grief and see the beautiful things that are trying to emerge in that space, which isn't easy at first. So if you aren't able to see it, it's okay. Give yourself the space and the time. You will see it, and you will actually see how it transforms you and alchemizes you in ways that are extremely powerful. This becomes a source of power in some way. Okay, it becomes a source of power, whether that is a mediumship ability that blossoms later in life, or if it is just a deep understanding of how to empathize with people going through grief. Maybe it's becoming a death doula. Maybe it's partnering with certain spirits that help, acting as like a psychopomp, or partnering with spirits that help the dead move on. There's something here that emerges from that space of that energy now being part of you. Okay, let's see something here. Yeah. So the Four Swords, it is both death and healing. If you notice, it's actually sarcophagus here. And, but traditionally what we read it as is healing. This is the death and resurrection card, and its meaning is kind of lost in history as such. And that's kind of interesting. I think that that's very symbolic. There's also this energy for me whenever I see the stained glass window that almost feels like a blessing, right? So it's like the blessing of death and resurrection, how the death of one thing can actually create new life within us. I'm almost feeling that someone, if you have lost someone, it's like you could feel that energy inside of you after that point. Maybe you took on certain mannerisms or speech patterns, or you said something that a loved one that passed away used to say, and in this way it's like their energy lives on through you. Okay, again, this is one of the mysteries. We have the Hierophant, the power to loose and the power to bind. Only some can understand while others do not. So that's really like the meanings of the Hierophant. And this is kind of like some sort of interesting soul lesson for somebody is release. Maybe you were somebody who held on too hard to situations. Maybe you were somebody who tried to control the outcome. There's something here about release and acceptance that's wrapped up in this Hierophant for me. Okay, yeah, and leaving the lessons of that behind. And it's like leaving something behind that meant something like so beautiful. It was like so meaningful to us. Our cups were all there. And it doesn't mean that you leave the love behind. It just means that you're leaving the physical shells behind, right? The stuff that doesn't come with us anyway. And in order to find yourself or to truly embark upon your journey, it's like someone's journey is beginning. And it's beginning from this state of grief. That's why it's the in-between. We are leaving one state and we're moving to another state of being. And it's emerging from this sort of chaos void state that is trying to create something new within our life. One more card I'm hearing. Okay, yeah, the Tower had to come down. So what was built had to come down in order to allow the freedom to move into this energy to now pursue new things, new ideologies, new experiences, new possibilities, new versions of love and new hope. So I'm going to leave this here. This is actually very beautiful energy. And if you're somebody who is very comfortable with the energy of death, you probably recognize some of this inside of your own story. So I'm going to leave this here. And if this resonates with you, please hit that like button. Feel free to leave me a comment. Channel members, don't forget to vote down in the comment section. And until next time.